Hey, what's up everybody? This is Osterberg501 and today I want to go over some more information for the upcoming survival game, V Rising. Now I have gone over an overview of this game before, but a quick TLDR is that V Rising is going to be an open world survival RPG game with a lot of the similar systems you would expect from other survival games. You're able to claim and build up your own castle. You're able to progress your character out in the open world, create a clan with all of your friends, go out and harvest resources and bring them back to further build up your castle, go fight any other players in the open world, and even raid other players' castles. And this is being made by the developers that made Battle Right, so this is going to be an upgraded version of that combat system, which is generally considered to be the best part of that game. And there is a lot more things you can expect from this game, but that is kind of a basic overview, and the early access of this game is actually going to be released on May 17th. So we're right around 2 weeks away from the early access. And personally, everything I have seen from this game through all of the trailers and developer blog posts, this seems like it's going to be a really good game. And I may do another video going over all of the information we've gotten up to this point, but the main information I want to go over today is a blog post that goes over the castle system in the game, which is the building system, because building up your base in survival games is one of the main systems in the vast majority of all the popular survival games. And it's something I'm very interested in as well, because it looks like they're doing this system in a little bit of a different way. So in V Rising, castles are intimately tied to progression. The central foundation of your court is called the castle heart, and it will serve as the foundation of the stronghold. As long as blood is pumping through the castle heart, crafting and production stations will be working to provide everything needed to empower yourself for your dark escapades. If it seemed like you would be a regal dark overlord hammering away at a chunk of metal and sawing at wood to make your own swords and crossbows, think again. Simply create workstations, drop the materials, and give the word. The castle does all the work, using the dark magic of bloodcraft to weave together deadly weapons, mix alchemical marvels, and stitch together armors and capes to their perfect measurements. So this is one of the examples I was talking about, that they're doing the base building a little bit differently in this game. So what they're talking about here is that there's going to be a piece of your castle that is the heart. And if you keep this heart filled with blood, your castle is essentially going to be kind of automated. So if you place down a crafting station, you're not sitting at the crafting station actually crafting the item. The castle is doing that itself. You just give it the materials and tell it what to craft, and it crafts it for you. And it seems like you'll be able to have multiples of different stations like you would expect from other survival games, where maybe you would have a line of the same benches to craft items much more quickly. Seems like you're still going to be able to do that in this, except you just have to start them all up and then go away, and the castle itself is going to craft those items for you. And I do think this is sticking to the kind of aesthetic and background of the game, because you are going to be this vampire lord, which means you're not going to be the one to personally be crafting items or doing kind of the manual labor. You're going to be the one giving the orders for someone else, or in this case your castle, to craft them for you. No matter what the adventure in the world of Vardaran, it will always lead back to your domain, the place to return to store the loot and have it made into valuable tools to rise in power. When you die, you return to your coffin to shake off the grave dust and plan for devious revenge. It's a safe place to share with fanged brothers and sisters and revel in the victories after a long night's hunt. So again, what you would expect from other survival games. This will be your main base of operations. You will also be able to share with other clan members, and this is where you will be respawning whenever you die. The castle's heart does more than just power crafting stations. It also defends them. It's a living entity. While nourished, it will provide extra layers of protection, making it more difficult for other vampires to attempt to breach the defenses and get to all of your hard-won valuables. When the castle heart is well fed, other vampires will find it challenging to get in. As long as it's secured and fortified, it should take extra effort for someone to break through. Castles will heal themselves over time if they prove unsuccessful or do minor damage. Unless the enemy can do a lot of targeted destruction construction over a short period, it will be like they never tried to attack. When a castle heart is well fed, it will be tricky for other vampires to breach your walls. It takes a resource costly and targeted attack to break down even a single wall. If they can't get through all of the layers and defenses and are forced to retreat, it will be reasonably easy to repair, and more than that, any unbroken walls will heal themselves over time. And this is a type of system I'm a fan of. This is something that a lot of other survival games in the past haven't had in the base game, and this is usually something that would be implemented through mods and on private servers, something similar to offline raid protection in Ark Survival Evolved. So keeping the heart of your castle filled with blood will now make all of the walls and objects in your castle much more protected, so it'll be much more harder for other players to come raid you. And keeping your heart filled with blood will also cause it to heal anything damaged over time automatically. So if someone comes and tries to raid your base and they can't actually get through a wall, that wall will just heal over time. So even if you're offline and they can't get through everything, they can't just go farm up some stuff and then come back in a little bit, because everything they try to damage will be healing up or possibly fully healed, depending on how long that actually takes. And the feel of this will definitely depend on balancing. If it's super easy to get enough explosives to blow up a ton of walls, it's not going to feel that good. But if they balance this like it's much harder to raid people, so you actually have to build up for a decent period of time and get ready for raids like this, then it can definitely be something that will protect you against a lot of raiding and make it so raiding is a much bigger deal, and you will actually have to be very prepared to even stand a chance of fully raiding one of these castles. The amount of dedicated resources and focus it takes for an enemy vampire to break down even a single wall or door means that when they get inside, it discourages them from destroying anything that they don't absolutely need to. All of the hard work constructing the palace of your dreams won't be so easily undone, and recovering from a successful raid won't mean cleaning up too much wreckage. So invest in your estate, build it big, build it strong, something to be proud of. Dedication will be rewarded. Those who don't may suffer consequences. However, ignoring the castle is like neglecting any other living thing and may lead to decay. When the blood runs dry, it will lose those protections and those mighty walls will crumble over time. While it is sad that a home will be lost, it will be good for that precious real estate to be taken up by another, more reasonable vampire. And this is actually a pretty well thought out system. So first off, their intent here is to make it very hard to raid a base, very hard to even get through a single wall. So that means when somebody is actually prepared to go raid a base and get in and try to get loot, it means that they're trying to make it so that those people raiding won't want to destroy anything that they don't absolutely have to get the loot they want. Now this will depend on it being balanced correctly, but if they can strike a good balance with that, that will mean that foundation wiping or base wiping somebody shouldn't really be a thing. And big raids may not even collect everything out of the base, so even if you do get raided and they go in and take a bunch of your resources, you can still come back, re-put up the walls they blew up, and start to progress again without having the entirety of your base wiped, which is something that does commonly happen in a lot of other survival games. Now to add on top of that, the heart system is also going to play a similar role to the tool cupboard in Rust. So you have to keep specific resources in it so your base doesn't decay. And if you don't have those resources in, your base starts to decay over time, losing health or durability, and at some point will just be pretty much completely destroyed. And in V Rising, you will also have those additional protections. Keeping your heart filled with resources will also just heal any of the structures in the castle. So making sure you keep your heart filled with blood, filled with those resources, will be a big part of your gameplay. And then on the flip side, if someone stops playing or stops playing for a week or however long it may be, their castle will at some point be completely destroyed, which will help to free up these castle locations. Because they have mentioned before that they're planning on having 50 castle locations on a single server, and it sounds like they're wanting to have a lot more than 50 players on a server. So making sure that these castle locations aren't taken up by people who aren't playing is also a very good system to have implemented. And they also mentioned that there will be a ton of different options to customize your castle how you want, with all of the cosmetic pieces you would want or expect to be able to furnish your base and make it look how you want. And they also mentioned that you're able to rearrange pretty much anything you place down anytime you want. So it sounds like placing something down isn't like in other survival games where you would most likely have to destroy that item and then replace a new one. In V-Rising, it seems like when you place something down, you can just move it somewhere else or turn it anytime you want without any penalties. And then one of the big systems of the game is going to be filling up your castle with different servants. So one can imagine those vast halls and chambers getting a bit lonely, and it might be difficult for the Eternal to find worthy companions. So why not acquire some servants through the magic of, well, magic? An adequately educated vampire can go out into the world and hunt for good help. After wearing down their prey, they're able to bend their will and order a properly enhanced human back to their castle. After bringing the freshly charmed thrall home, it comes time to make an important decision. From here, there are a few options. If this particular human seems like a uniquely tasty treat, a vampire might choose to place them in a prison cell to keep them as a prisoner and snack on them periodically. Keep your prisoner happy enough, and you may even be able to feed on them more often. And if they have some sort of beneficial blood type that might come in handy frequently, you'll be able to have it on hand whenever you need. So essentially what they're explaining in the system is you can take these AI back to your base, put them in a cage, and keep sucking on their blood, which is actually a big part of the game. You are a vampire, and any of the humanoids in the game, you'll be able to drink their blood and get certain buffs. Not sure how exactly this is going to work, but it seems like different types of AI will give different buffs, and then most likely stronger enemies will also give stronger versions of those buffs. So if you get an enemy that has a really good blood type that'll give you a really good buff, you can take them back and put them in a cage to just keep getting that buff. Most likely you'll have to keep these AI alive through some means as well. Alternatively, maybe you need a helping hand. For this, simply lower that freshly gained pawn into a servant's coffin and allow them to suffer the sweet agony of undeath and eternal servitude. Maybe it would give peace of mind to have somebody waiting at the base to deal with any intruders that manage to sneak in. Or perhaps you're sick of having to suffer the indignity of going to Fairbane to gather copper ore when someone else can do it for you instead. Command servants from your throne to carry out missions, gathering materials without having to lift a finger. So again, this is fitting in with you playing as this vampire lord. You can turn these AI that you take back to your base into your actual servants. So they can protect your base, you can send them out on missions to gather you resources, and most likely they'll be able to do some other objectives for you. And this is something that we're seeing a lot more in survival games. Conan Exiles had it, and most recently Myth of Empires also had this. And I think in Myth of Empires they had a really good system about how you go about doing this, and having a ton of different stats and power levels of AI you could go recruit and have them as controllable AI to fight with you in battle or go gather your resources or defend your base. So I'm generally a fan of systems like this. So that is the information I wanted to go over for the castle system. And like I mentioned, I'm really excited about how they're going about building their base building system in V-Rising. I'm liking a lot of the information. I'm learning about the different systems that go into your castles. And like I mentioned, I am generally really excited for this game. A lot of things I've heard in general, I have been a fan of. And like I mentioned, this will be releasing into early access on Steam on May 17th. So we're right around 2 weeks away from being able to officially play this game. So I'm very excited for that. So subscribe if you want to see more V-Rising or other videos. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you guys think about the castle system in V-Rising. And thanks for watching.